Sir Alex Ferguson, the greatest manager in football history who almost got sacked before the dynasty began. When he arrived in 1986, United were a mess, 21st in the old First Division and drinking culture everywhere. His first 3 seasons, no trophies, and a call for his head. Then came the 1998 FA Cup win that saved his job. What followed was unprecedented. 13 Premier League titles, 2 Champions Leagues, and complete domination of English football for decades. His greatest strength wasn't even tactics, but it was man management. He knew exactly when to put an arm around a player and when to throw a boot at them. By the time he retired in 2013, he'd built and rebuilt United 5 times over. From Cantona to Ronaldo, from Keane to Rooney, he always found a way to evolve and win. Over 10 years later and 7 managers later, United are still trying to recover from his departure. That's not just success, that's immortality. David Moyes, the unfortunate soul who had to follow the greatest act in football history. After 11 solid years at Everton, Moyes was personally selected by Ferguson as his successor, quote-unquote the chosen one. The chosen one banner went up at Old Trafford. 10 months later, it came down.
Physically above Old Trafford.
Well, it's not very classy, is it, Manchester United fans?
His tenure started with Community Shield success but quickly unraveled. The problems were immediate: failed transfers, confused tactics, and a team that went from champions to 7th place. The defining moment, 81 crosses against Fulham in a desperate 2-2 draw. It was like watching someone try to solve a math problem by repeatedly banging their head against the calculator. By April 2014, he was gone, sacked after it became mathematically impossible to qualify for Champions League. The 6-year contract he signed became one of football's cruelest jokes. He's since rebuilt his reputation at West Ham, but his time at United remains a perfect example of how not to replace a legend. Louis van Gaal, the eccentric Dutchman who promised a philosophy but delivered insomnia. Arriving with a stellar CV including Champions League success with Ajax and league titles across Europe, Van Gaal was supposed to restore United's attacking traditions. Instead, he gave us possession without purpose. United kept the ball like it contained the secret to eternal life, but did absolutely nothing with it. Sideways, backwards, sideways, backwards, sideways, backwards. I have to give it to him. Off the pitch, he was box office entertainment. From diving on the touchline to demonstrate a foul, to calling a journalist fat man, to comparing football to sex in a press conference, you never knew what he'd say next.
Louis van Gaal's army!
His 2 seasons brought an FA Cup and the emergence of Marcus Rashford, but the football was so boring it made watching paint dry seem like an extreme sport. The last memory of Van Gaal, lifting the FA Cup on Saturday and clearing out his office on Monday. Football can be brutal, but at least he can always have his quote-unquote philosophy. Jose Mourinho, the special one, who arrived a decade too late and left as the bitter one. When he signed in 2016, it seemed perfect. One of the world's greatest managers joining one of the world's biggest clubs. His first season delivered the Europa League and League Cup. Not bad. United were on track to get back to the top. Then came the infamous second season syndrome, but not the good kind he had at Chelsea and Inter. United finished second to City Centurions, but the football was defensive, reactive, and about as entertaining as a tax audit. The third season meltdown had every rival fan in tears, from demanding respect in press conferences.
Respect, man. Respect.
Calling Paul Pogba a virus, he alienated players, fans, and the board in record time. By December of 2018, he was gone, leaving behind a divided dressing room and the immortal phrase, football heritage. The special one's time at United showed that even the greatest managers can't succeed without the right structure. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the club legend who proved that vibes and nostalgia can only take you so far. After Mourinho's toxicity, Ole arrived as caretaker with a simple plan. Smile, mention Sir Alex a lot, and remind everyone of 1999. It worked brilliantly to start. 14 wins in his first 19 games and the permanent job was his. And what happened after that was the most predictable cycle in football. A terrible run, Ole on the brink, miraculous win against a top team, the corner has been turned, repeat, for nearly 3 years. His high points were impressive, the PSG comeback, the double over City, second place in 2021, but tactically he was out of his depth. His solution to every problem was counterattack and inshallah. The end came after a 5-0 humiliation by Liverpool at Old Trafford. Even his legendary status couldn't survive that. For all his tactical limitations, Ole restored some pride and connection after the Mourinho era. But sometimes being a nice guy guy just isn't enough at Manchester United. Ralf Rangnick, the godfather of Georgian pressing who couldn't get millionaires to run. Brought in as an interim manager after Ole's sacking, Rangnick arrived with a reputation as a tactical innovator who had influenced Klopp, Tuchel, and Nagelsmann. Finally, United would have a modern coach. That's what we all thought. Reality hit harder than a Roy Keane tackle. The players simply refused to adapt to his high-intensity pressing style. It was like watching someone try to install Windows 11 on a computer from 1995. His press conferences became increasingly honest and brutal. He publicly stated that the club needed open heart surgery and that up to 10 new players were required. The board's response was just complete silence. After 6 painful months, United finished 6th with their lowest Premier League points total ever. Rangnick was supposed to stay for a consultancy role, but instead left for the Austria national team job and has since been doing pretty good. Ignoring the diagnosis from the doctor you hired wasn't United's smartest move, especially when that diagnosis turned out to be spot on. Erik Ten Hag. After the Rangnick disaster, Ten Hag arrived from Ajax with a clear vision. Possession-based football, high pressing, and strict discipline. His first power move was dropping Cristiano Ronaldo after a poor performance. No one thought anyone would do that. His first season showed real promise, a League Cup trophy, 3rd place in the league, and a FA Cup final. The football wasn't always pretty, but there was actual structure and patterns of play. Then came the second season. Injuries, inconsistencies, and defensive mistakes galore. From the highs of beating City in the FA Cup final to the lows of embarrassing defeats to Crystal Palace and Bournemouth. Despite winning 2 trophies in 2 seasons, the football just wasn't good enough and he had to go. He brought back some standards and won a couple trophies, but it just wasn't good enough. Not the worst United manager of the post-Ferguson era, but definitely not the solution either. Ruben Amorim, the Portuguese wonder kid who's either the next Mourinho or the next United manager to turn to shit. At just 39 years old, Amorim arrived with a reputation built on transforming Sporting Lisbon into Portuguese champions with the dynamic 3-4-3 system and development of young talent. His Sporting team played with clear patterns, positional discipline, and tactical flexibility, 3 concepts that have been alien to United since Ferguson retired. The early signs are promising, players in their correct positions, a consistent system, and actual coaching visible on the pitch. His first press conference showed confidence without arrogance, a refreshing change. After a decade of false dawns, United fans are cautiously optimistic, but they've been here before, and the ghosts of managers past still haunt Old Trafford's corridors. So we'll have to wait and see what Amorim has in store for United fans.